Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Thursday, August 14th, 2014. I'm beginning with Koila Pele's blog. This is one of the places I check on a regular basis. This is kind of my source. I don't read every day. I don't look at conscious life news and all that. Some of the more mystical aspects of alternative news. I don't look at it every day, but I do check Koila Pele's blog because he often kind of finds some of those type articles that are the most interesting, at least that I find the most interesting and relevant. And being that it's Thursday, the full article from Fulford from last Monday is available. And he has that here. And as I mentioned on Monday, there are some interesting aspects of the ideas that Fulford communicates in this blog. And you might want to read this. One is has to do with why the U.S. is permitting Central and South Americans to come over the border. That they want that the U.S. people in the U.S. want to be more closely aligned with that continent, not just Mexico. So some interesting information there from Fulford, as always. But what I really want to mention is are these articles about BRICS. BRICS gain from Russia ban on EU, U.S. food imports. A couple more BRICS posts. Yuan steady after strong rise against the dollar. Now, we've all been hearing that the yuan is growing stronger and the dollar is growing weaker. I know that's true. I saw an interesting article this morning, or maybe it was just a tweet, maybe from Zero Hedge, that auto imports, the cost of auto imports is going down and is at kind of a low point. So I'm not sure how to explain that in light of a weak dollar. And I'm not sure we really know the whole story about what's going on. But, of course, this is true. The yuan is increasing in strength. And this article claims BRICS are drifting away from U.S. and European monetary structures. And I believe that. And, there are people who are writing that there is going to be a financial reset, but the U.S. is going to be left out of it on the sidelines because because the Federal Reserve and the structure that they have created here in U.S. government are resistant to the change. So the U.S. will be left in the cold when all these great changes come and positive things happen financially for the rest of the world. Well, I think that's up to us as Americans, whether we're left on the sidelines or whether we can participate. And what's required is that, we have government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we need to, the governed need to also govern. That's how the Constitution established this country. And that's how it's meant to be here. So hopefully we will all be able to do that and participate in this great change that I do believe is coming in the world. I found this interesting that Walmart, from Zero Hedge, Walmart cuts guidance again and blames Obamacare. Of course, this could be just rhetoric, but maybe the corporations really are just about done with Obama. With Hillary's attack on him, his policy, it seems like he's on the outs. But we'll see where all this goes. Again, some of these people are aware that Americans are really kind of fed up with Obama, and they're not they're going to want to convince all of us that they're on our side, right? Of course, we know better. And it was kind of difficult for me this morning to get started looking at the news because last night I was seeing incredible tweets about not good news about what was happening in Ferguson. Crowds being shot with rubber bullets, people hearing the police retreating, and people hearing screams from the police, and really just scrolling through some of the tweets that came into my smartphone. I was kind of terrified. I did not want to look at the news this morning, and and I saw InfoWars this morning. They have a lot of information about what was going on because, of course, some of their reporters were there. There were reporters arrested, and it was just a mess. And this is one image from there, and this is from a tweet from Zero Hedge. Media asked to shut cameras and videos and being forced to leave. And just interestingly here, a hushed crowd in Syntagma Square is watching a big screen live feed from Ferguson. So, the world is watching, and this doesn't feel good. Last night, again, I was really not happy. I was really kind of overwhelmed by some of the tweets that I was seeing, and it reminded me of what happened in Kent State, and this was many years ago, but 4 Kent State students killed by troops. This has happened in America, and this happened in the 70s. And we always preach that democracy, and we're taking democracy to the world, but we actually have a history in the U.S. of using force, extreme force, against our people. And I actually was thinking about this last night in a measure to comfort myself, even though it's so horrible, just to know that we have made it through this kind of a situation. And there have been other things in the U.S. I've read that following the San Francisco earthquake and fire, that was, I think, the only time in recorded history that citizens of a place were ordered shot without any kind of legal proceedings, because there was an order given, I think it was by the mayor, that people suspected of looting be shot on sight. And that is murder. I mean, that shows the value that possessions were valued more highly than human life, that people suspected of looting would be shot on sight. And so just to frame what's happening in Ferguson, that it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of our country, because this kind of thing has happened in our past, and we have recovered from these things. We have come back from these kind of circumstances. And I think it might be a good wake-up call. I believe the social engineers are planning to use this what's happening in Ferguson in a certain way, and I completely believe that the kinds of things that were being said on InfoWars yesterday is true, that they've been wargaming this, and they have a plan, and they want to cause civil unrest, and they want to use racial tension to bring down this country. I believe that, but I believe that it's very possible, and not only possible, I think it's likely that plan will fail, because people are first of all, because people are becoming aware of that plan and are not going to consciously, willingly go along with it. And also just because, the average person, our first instinct is not really to fight. Our first instinct, I think, in this country a lot of times is to make friends. Sometimes Sometimes the social engineers mistake our kindness for weakness. And I found this really encouraging at this point. I mean, obviously more information can come out, and we might learn that this is part of some manipulation. Maybe they'll want to bring in the military. St. Louis County Police will no longer be involved in policing Ferguson. They made some mistakes, and they're not going to be, they're being pulled out. And InfoWars has an article and photo of the police chief just, having deep regret, knowing that it's a serious problem, that his police force was shooting at reporters and arresting reporters. And so this is, a change is going on there. Representative William Lacey Clay from Missouri told Bloomberg News on Thursday morning that Governor Jay Nixon, also a Democrat, had confirmed to him that county police will be pulled from their duties in Ferguson, where outrage continues to erupt following the officer-involved shooting and killing of Michael Brown, an 18-year-old unarmed teenager, on Saturday. On Wednesday evening, protests in Ferguson for the fourth straight day appeared to resemble a war zone when militarized police began firing tear gas and non-lethal ammunition into the streets toward private residences. Two journalists, one from Washington Post and another from Huffington Post, were briefly detained while on assignment. That means they were arrested. I mean, that's how it's being presented, and that's true. So again, who's going to replace this police force is unclear right now. Hopefully it will not be any part of the military. Hopefully we'll be able to have this de-escalate, because this police force is being pulled out, not have it escalate. So it's not, this situation's not over. Alex Jones has a couple of reporters there. I'm sure that today they will be talking a lot about this. But, is this a distraction? Is this a diversion? They've been throwing so many distractions at us. The whole Ebola, are you hearing about Ebola now? Well, yeah, it turned, it's yesterday they said there was Ebola in France. But that was, I believe, just another wave sweeping through of information that's crafted to divert us and direct our attention someplace that's not significant. And what is significant, I don't know. Edward Snowden is said that he has some earth-shaking news. That's not exactly how he put it. He was a little more crude in how he expressed the degree of significance of what he was going to be releasing. But he framed it in a way that the information has potential to take down our government in the U.S. And of course not our government, but the imitation government that has been put in place by the cabal, by the Federal Reserve banking system, for their benefit. And as far as using Ebola as a psyop, John Rappaport wrote a really interesting article. CIA records, they wanted to kill using chemical and biological substances. And they were intending to do this, and he's working from actual documents. They were intending to kill a few people so that they would be able to justify vaccinating a lot of people. The mass vaccination campaign against the rising epidemic inflicts harm. Chemicals and germs ordinarily found in vaccines are toxic and destructive. So without even covertly placing unusual materials in vaccines, people are going to suffer consequences. So this is a warning from John Rappaport about how they're trying to spin this Ebola thing and use it to manipulate us. And fortunately, we've been warned, and we can respond accordingly. But again, what is the true significance? What is happening that for the good of the future of our nation, our focus should be upon? Maybe it will be what Edward Snowden shares. I'm not sure. Hopefully we'll recognize it when we see it, and I know that we'll all be trying. This is, I noticed this when I was on RT this morning, and honestly, it kind of encouraged me. It gave me hope for our future here in the U.S. Putin: Russians need to engage but have no confrontation with the wider world. Russians must consolidate and develop their country, neither sliding into isolationism nor sacrificing their dignity for the sake of pleasing anyone. We have to develop our country with calm, dignity, and efficiency, without barricading ourselves from the outer world or breaking ties with partners, but also without allowing anyone to treat us with disrespect. So, it reminded me of how the U.S. was before World War I. We weren't completely isolationist, but we were focused. The focus of the people in the U.S. was on building the U.S. And please, God, let us come back to a place where we, like as Putin says he wants to see happen in Russia, are able to rebuild our country. He called on a consolidation of the people, not for the sake of any wars or conflict, but for an industrious labor force for Russia and in Russia's name. And we need an industrious labor force. We need it, and that using labor almost has a socialistic ring, but I don't mean it that way. I mean people building, using their labor and benefiting from their own labor, and future generations benefiting from the labor of the parents and the grandparents. And historically, that is the picture of blessing. That there's even a psalm that says, may you eat the fruits of the works of your hands. That's a tremendous blessing, and may we in the U.S. soon be able to once again eat the fruits of the works of our hands, and not have it skimmed off to line the pockets of the military-industrial complex and line the pockets of the Federal Reserve banking system. We need our life source for ourselves and our future, and y'all can't have it anymore. I am ending today with this article from Natural News, Robin Williams, Bill Burr, and the profound impact of insightful comedy in a world steeped in insanity. And I found this encouraging, and if you're thinking about beginning to do a cartoon or a comedy act, or there's so many options open to us with YouTube. There's so many platforms where we can share things, and you see all this stupid, pointless comedy on YouTube that has tremendous numbers of views. Well, what if some of us who are in alternative media and have a passion for liberty begin to, turn it into humor? I think that we might be more effective using humor as a vessel for our message, because it takes down the barriers that people put up, and not to manipulate people or mess with their psyche, but just to show reality through the lens of humor. And certainly Robin Williams did that. I'm not very acquainted with Bill Burr, although having read this article, I intend to become more acquainted with him. And I'm hoping that maybe some people who are watching this video will be inspired, and certainly hoping that more people in the liberty and truth movement will be inspired to communicate our message through humor. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.